Hello, something a bit different for you today. Lockdown is having an interesting effect on the world, I think we can all agree. And what I think is absolutely amazing about the whole situation, one of the things that impresses me most, is that people seem to be being really creative. They are sharing all kinds of things that we never put online before. There's church services and exhibitions, museum collections. Everything is being made available digitally, and it's absolutely fantastic. I say this both as a historian and as an artist. I've spent a lot of time exploring all sorts of new things that I've never looked at before lately, and I'm sure you've done the same. Besides family history, my other passion in life is art, mainly acrylic painting. While I'm working on a new historical video, which I hope will be ready in a series of 3 videos very shortly, I thought instead I would do a virtual art exhibition. So here are 5 pieces from my collection which have been painted over the last few years, including some very new ones. So let's start. The view that you can see there has actually featured in one of my previous videos about some personal research that I did, and I chose the picture because firstly there's a family connection. My great grandfather was the cemetery keeper at Retford, and also because I thought it would actually be fun to paint pink trees, and the source picture for this painting was taken in spring and the place was just covered in blossom. I don't actually know how long it took to paint, but at 24 by 18 inches it is quite a big painting. There was a lot of changes, lots of blossom was added to the ground and then taken away, and the shadows were changed. But what I did learn while I was painting this was that there are an awful lot more shades of pink than you could possibly imagine in a cherry tree, and quite a lot of brown and red and burgundy as well. But I do really like this. This is the outcome of being inspired by a picture. A slightly smaller painting here. This is only 30 by 40 centimetres, so about A3 if you're looking at paper sizes, but not quite. It was painted in 2017. I can't believe it's 3 years old, but it is. And it shows the Leeds and Liverpool Canal at East Marton. You should really go there and have a look at it, because not only does the Leeds and Liverpool Canal go through East Marton, but there is a really interesting double bridge, a double arched bridge over one part of the canal. So it's interesting just because of that. The source of inspiration for this painting was taken purely because I went with my dad to see the flotilla sail by during the Leeds and Liverpool Canal Bicentenary week in October 2016. There's a lot of water in this scene. Water is something I usually find quite challenging to paint because you have to layer it and layer it and layer it until it looks right. And true to form, this scene did involve an awful lot of layers, but I think the overall look is quite calm. There's nothing choppy about this canal, which is just as it should be. It was October at the time when I took the picture, so there is a little bit of autumn colour creeping into the leaves. Overall, I really like this one. This painting is actually almost exactly 2 years old, and it's 12 inches by 10, and it is a cautionary tale of why you shouldn't be too cautious when you're painting. 2 years ago I took part in Create Longridge, and based in Longridge in Lancashire, and basically you could spend any time at all that you like between about 8 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon on whatever piece of work you wanted to submit. This was quite an interesting challenge for me because normally I don't paint a painting all in one go. I usually work for a few hours and then I go back to it another day and maybe change a bit, and sometimes it can take 2 or 3 weeks to actually finish, even though it only takes me 5 or 6 hours in total. So this was a real challenge because this was having to do it all on one day. I chose a little canvas because I thought it was far more realistic to try to finish something smaller rather than run out of time working on a much bigger project. And in the event, I actually ended up completing this in about 5 hours, so well within the amount of time that I had left. I was quite amazed how quickly it came together. It's an interesting scene, this one, because as a view I really do like it, but in retrospect I actually think it would have looked a little bit better had I left a bit more room at the top for some more sky. There's a lot of grass and a lot of building, and it could do with being a bit more balanced out. It's a little bit squashed from the way I look at it. But one thing I really liked about the fact that I'd chosen a view from the far end of the churchyard, so I got a great view of all these many graves, old and new, is that I could add little details, and I love to put little details in. If you look really closely at some of the ones at the front, you can see that there are gold details on the gravestones themselves, because that's what gravestone inscriptions look like. This is a more recent work. This is from 2019. It's 24 by 18 inches acrylic on canvas, so it's another big one. And there is a bit of a story behind it. I decided quite at random last year that I wanted to enter something for the Ribble Valley Open Art exhibition, which was held at the Stewards Gallery at Clitheroe Castle last summer to the end of September, I think. I didn't expect to get a place in it, but I thought, why not? The thing about this picture is that it actually took a long time to paint. I have no idea how many hours. Purely because I started it because I was determined I was going to enter this competition, and then I forgot about it until probably about a week or 10 days before the deadline. I had to do a lot of work quite quickly and this was the finished result. I never expected it to be accepted for the exhibition, but it was, and it did spend 8 or 10 weeks last summer at the Stewards Gallery at Clitheroe Castle. I do like a rural scene, but I think possibly my favourite bit about this is either the shading on the wall, which took a long time to get right, or at least get done to my liking. The road I quite like. I'm not normally great with roads, but what I really like is the tiny little hint you can just see on the distant hills of the little sheep, because there are a lot of sheep around here. It's always nice, I think, to have a holiday souvenir, and that's why I want to introduce you to my youngest painting. This is Ilfracombe Harbor. It is 18 by 14 inches, so it's one of those unusual sized canvases, and it is simply based on a holiday photo from 2018. And it's one of those that took quite a long time to come together. It turned out quite differently to how I expected it would, but eventually it did come into its own. At one point, because I was trying to work really faithfully from the source photograph, I decided to do exactly what was on the photo and put seaweed all along the beach, and it did not look right at all. It looked a mess, essentially. Then I toned it down and toned it down some more and tried to hide it, and then of course I had to re-emphasise the seaweed, and then the same thing happened with the sea. It was built up and up and up in lots and lots of layers of colours until eventually it did finally start to look like the sea as it was in the photograph. I cannot tell you how many shades of blue and green and other colour combinations there are in there. I stopped counting long before that. And there certainly are not half as many boats in this picture as there were on the source photo, but you've got to draw a line somewhere, I think. I really like it because it does remind me so much of that blistering hot summer that we had in 2018, which actually began while I was in Devon and continued long after I came home. It's a nice memory of that as well. The most fun part of this painting though, again, was adding the tiny little details that you always get in a painting, just the little hints and blobs of paint to represent people on benches. And I actually employed one of my ultra secret weapons for this, which I'm now going to reveal, using a cocktail stick for the really fine bits. It works far better than any paintbrush I've ever tried.